I just felt like going live to share my thoughts about the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate. And I want to pat myself on the back a little bit because I think I was proven right that nothing was going to come of it. I mean, by any normal debate standards, Andrew Wilson crushed it, but we're not dealing with a good faith debater with Candace Owens, and her fans don't care. They do not care that she had no evidence. She had no reason, no good arguments, no logic, nothing. It didn't move the needle for them at all. They knew that. They knew that going into it. She hasn't presented anything. It's been a year, and she's just presented crap. So I predicted that the debate would achieve nothing, and I think I've been proven right. That's not to say that Andrew didn't do a good job. Again, by any normal debate standards, High Texas, he won, but they don't hold themselves to the same standards. So that's why I said I was kind of against it. I was especially against it because the idea of Candace Owens, hi Tanya, hey Velvet, the idea of Candace Owens getting any money for just backing up her claims when she claims to be a truth seeker, investigating the murder of her friend, it's obscene. It's obscene. And the fact that there was ad breaks, so more ad revenue generated for all three of them, what a joke. What a joke. I'm sorry, it bothers me. PBD, I don't think did that great of a job, but, he could have done worse. So I guess just staying silent was, it could have been worse. You got sidetracked, started asking Candace about double dates and stuff. I thought that was pointless. Andrew Wilson missed a few opportunities. He didn't know the law or the case like the back of his hand, which, I think he should. But again, he won. I mean, there's no question he won the debate. It just doesn't matter. Doesn't mean anything for the Candy crew. Maybe it moved the needle a little bit. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope that maybe I missed it and some parts of it will go viral and it will move the needle. I would like to be proven wrong on this, but I don't think so. Now, I have to give myself another pat on the back, and I'm humble, but when I get things right, I don't think much was accomplished either. Tanya, he should have gone after her harder, but to be fair, if he did do that, then maybe we would be complaining about that. He got roped into some, I agree, Velvet. It was a waste of time, but I wouldn't really care about the waste of time if Candace wasn't making any money. The fact that she's making money it's just obscene. It's just obscene. But where was I? I think he got roped into some, trivial details. And again, I'm not saying I could have done it better than Andrew. I think on some of the points I would have been a little bit better prepared. He should have known the 7 charges, but it really doesn't mean anything. But he could have done better. But yeah, I'm not sure if you have the best debate in history if it would have moved the needle. I do think that he should have brought up more of her claims, specifically against Erica Kirk. He brought up like 1 or 2 shorts that she was able to squirm her way out of by saying, oh no, I was saying she was complicit, not in the murder, but in the narrative. BS. We have 50 other videos of you saying she's complicit in the murder. So I think he should have come better prepared with the clips. By the way, I know most of you are already subscribed, but please help me grow my channel. Get me to 300. I'm at like 285. But where was I? So, should have come better prepared with more clips of her. You know, he came with the receipt info, which I didn't even know that gained much traction with Candace. Diligent Denizen was throwing that out there, and it's nonsense, and I take Gary's word pretty much to heart. But claim brought up. Sorry if I cut in and out. I'm going on a walk with my baby, and so sometimes it logs me into the Wi-Fi automatically. Let me turn it off. So, thank you, Texas. Thank you all. But where was I? So so I would have brought up how she just told Sean Ryan that there was no interviews of Lance Twiggs, because that's something that we all saw, the interviews of Lance Twiggs. So that was just straight up wrong information. And, you know, these claims, these definitive statements by Candace, and that one I think is the perfect example, really matter. Because if it was true that Lance Twiggs was never interviewed, I, as a lawyer, would be like, whoa, why the hell has Lance Twiggs never been interviewed? He seems like the most important witness. But it wasn't true. But I'm sure many hundreds of thousands of people saw that clip from Sean Ryan, and that's what they know. They don't know that she was wrong because they don't watch the preliminary hearing. They're not following this closely. So I don't know if she's ever apologized for that error, but that one's a big one. I would have brought that up for sure. The whole Spider-Man thing, how you had to be Spider-Man to climb the roof, you know, that's actually how I came across Gary's channels when he debunked that. And that's another thing that, like, if people are not following closely, they might still believe that, how did he get on the roof? If, you know, he must be it's more likely that he's a elite soldier to be able to get on the roof or something. But as we saw from Gary, you just have to walk up the stairs. So I would have brought that up. And I'm sure there's dozens and dozens of other examples of her just saying false things that are demonstrably false. But fortunately for me, I do not watch her, so I can't say that with, I don't know exactly, but those two examples I feel like should have been brought up. There was a lot of little kind of ancillary trivial details that got too much play. Whereas not enough substantive stuff were talked about. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Velvet, is that in a court of law, she loses every time. She has no evidence, not one shred of evidence. Evidence of motive, which is the only thing she pointed to when it came to Israel, is, you know, one out of context text message. That would not stand by itself in a court of law. Do you know how many people had motives against Charlie Kirk in particular? Do you know how many hundreds of thousands, millions of people we could find that you could say has a motive? Motive alone is not enough to convict somebody. You have to have some evidence. And so, and you know, it wasn't even a good motive, you know, but you think the debate will help McCrones and Hartpole? Yeah. I don't know. I haven't analyzed it from that angle, Mindy. but I'm sure there's certain statements that she said that, you know, can be used against her in those civil trials. But I wasn't really looking for that, but that's a good point, that we might have something like that. I'm gonna add Q&A stickers. No, that's not what I wanted. Any questions? So Blake is accusing Mikey McCoy. Yeah, I just heard that, like, mentioned, which I'm so confused with this Blake guy, because the other day on the X, he sounded like he was, like, sick of Candace's BS, but he still hasn't come to accept the Fed slop. By the way, for those of you who are uninitiated, Fed slop is just what they call logic and reason and evidence. They want to think that they're more clever than other people. So since most people are persuaded by logic and reason and evidence, they want to stand above that so that they can look at themselves and be like, huh, I'm not one of the muggles who falls for evidence. And let me just say, if we, High Patriot, if somehow, and this is, you know, never going to happen, but if somehow evidence comes out that there was this giant conspiracy that set up Tyler Robinson, I think that we could all take solace in the fact that, well, they fooled us because they did a real good job by giving us a lot of evidence and good reason. So we're still on the side of reason, even if we got fooled. Being an idiot and somehow getting to the correct conclusion, luckily, does not make you smart, you know? So we're on the side of the evidence. That's our side. That's the Fed slop side. It's just evidence. But what else? So what I was getting at is a few other predictions. I kind of feel vindicated because most of my predictions have been right on this topic. So I want to make some more predictions, and you guys have to give me credit if yeah, how do I get rid of the question sticker? I want to get rid of it. It asked me if I wanted the Q&A, and I said yes, because I thought it meant that you guys would be asking the Q&A. How do I get rid of it? Okay. Sorry, I screwed up. I don't know how to get rid of the question sticker now. Oh, this is cool. The background removal works better on my phone than my OBS. I need to know that going forward. Sorry, you guys. I added the question sticker, and now you guys have to deal with it. I don't know how to remove it. Let me see. Lighting is up. Okay. So, state filing is August 18th. Oh, okay. So yeah, that was one thing I thought is that the prosecution will be able to file a reply brief, and the reply brief is just going to address the points that the defense brought up in their brief. So they're probably going to go mostly on the aggravating circumstance. By the way, Candace is stupid. Aggravated murder is murder, okay? It's murder plus an aggravating circumstance. It's not even a different degree of murder. It's still first-degree murder. It's just that there's an extra circumstance. So her gotchas against Andrew were stupid. I mean, that was pretty much the only one, you know, about the 7 counts. But Andrew should have known it anyways. And then he kind of fell into a trap with asking if that was her text message when, you know, how hard is it to just remember? Hi, Mackenzie. Thank you for stopping by. how hard is it to remember 7 counts, especially since most of them are double counts, or 2 of them are, 4 of them. So, you know, you kind of fall into a little trap there, but those are the things that I'm sure her fans are going to latch onto and be like, oh, how do you not know the 7 counts if you're following this case closely, you know? Really, that means nothing. So, but, you know, I would have gone way more into the text messages. Because the text messages, let me tell you, if the text messages are not fabricated, if they are not, that's the whole case. You don't need the gun, you don't need the DNA, you don't need anything else from the prosecution's point of view. The text message, well, I mean, because people could text whatever. But the point is the text messages are so damning. They're so damning. It's like not even funny how damning they are to the defense. And so her whole thing is that, oh, they're too on the nose. Well, that might be true. They're too damning for the defense, but that's not a good defense to say they're too damning, you know. Point to some evidence that they were sent. And there are ways to find out. She said that maybe Lance Twiggs was sending it. So stupid. Maybe Lance Twiggs was sending it from the iCloud on his computer to himself. Well, we're going to find that out when they subpoena the cell phone towers, and they're going to ping his location and corroborate it with the text messages and everything. So that's going to fall apart. Yeah. Yeah, you can tell where it's coming from. It's just stupid. The conspiracies are stupid. That's what's so infuriating. It's like, if they were good conspiracies, then, well, I guess it would be infuriating because you'd have to be countering good conspiracies. But the fact that they're so stupid and yet they keep cropping up, that's pretty infuriating also. They have his cars in, he's on surveillance footage on, not only on campus along with his vehicle, but then shortly afterwards at car wash that's 10 minutes away. He did not live in the neighborhood. We have heard no evidence offered or reason offered by the defense why he was there. So, as I said many times, he has a good defense team, and that's why they're focusing on areas that they can win. And I think, let me get back to my predictions. Count 6 will be dismissed. I could be wrong, but if I'm right, I want the credit for getting that right. As for anything else that will come of this defense brief, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to succeed on anything else. They're not going to succeed on the aggravating circumstance. Count 7, I give a little bit of a chance but I don't think so. Same thing with the sentencing enhancements. The thing about the sentencing enhancements is that I don't even think they need to be proven at this stage, even by probable cause. So I don't think they're going to succeed on any of those. So, again, count 6, I think, will be. Yeah, well, Mindy, the thing is that with the car, you know, the black box on the car, I don't think that 2013 Dodge Challenger has that. He had an external GPS thing, which they subpoenaed the records for, but we haven't seen that yet. But you're right. In most modern cars, everything is tracked. But I don't think that's the case in a 2013 Dodge Challenger. But, who knows? There was a license plate reader that picked up Tyler, but not really in the vicinity of the murder. Look, we got his video on his car on surveillance. So, and he never reported the car stolen or anything, which most people would do when they wake up and they find their car not there. So, it's open and shut. It's open and shut. I'm sorry. It's open and shut. They will get count 6 dismissed. And because the defense, even though they're not going to win, count number 6 was the witness tampering. There's 2 witness tamperings, Texas. 2 witness tamperings where one of them applied to him telling Lance to delete the text message exchange. And maybe there's some other stuff to that, but I think that was the main thing. Sorry, my arm's getting tired. I need to get like a selfie stick. But count 6 refers to him telling Lance to stay silent and get a lawyer. And so I don't think that should be witness tampering, first off. I think, and I don't think it will be. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the defense will get nothing. But if I had to make a prediction, that would be the one success. And, sometimes I feel like maybe the prosecution kind of knew that, overcharged it a little bit so that, make the defense have to fight that stuff where they could win, and then, leave the big stuff. The obstruction counts, I don't even think that the brief even attacked those counts. The felony discharge of a firearm, that's obvious. Count 7, which also relates to some of the sentencing enhancement, they're kind of, in a way, duplicative, you could say, which is that it was in the presence of kids under 14. I'm giving it some chance here because the prosecution was supposed to show not just that there were kids under 14, but also that Tyler Robinson knew that. And I don't think the prosecution bothered to show any evidence of that. But I don't think the defense is going to win because I think it's a pretty direct inference to show that in a crowd of thousands of people on a college campus, it's likely that you're going to have some under 14-year-olds. So I don't think they're going to succeed, but I'm going to give them, like a 10% chance of maybe getting that one because the prosecution's still supposed to try, So they didn't really try to show that he was aware. But again, count 6 is going to be dismissed. And that brings me to, I think I got sidetracked. My next prediction is that I still think, and I've been saying this from the get-go, it's going to be a plea deal, life without parole, to spare him his life. And I think that was a lot of the strategy behind the defense filing here, is to show the prosecution that, look, even if you get a conviction, and yes, it is likely to get a conviction, you might not get the death penalty here. And so you'll go through it all, spend tons and tons of time and effort and, a lot of pain and suffering for the victim's family and everything. And you'll win, but you still won't get the death penalty anyways. And so for that reason, let's agree to a plea bargain for life without parole. And I hope all you all will give me credit if I'm proven right. Let's see. My neighbors sometimes just throw out stuff that seems pretty nice. What do you guys think? You guys think that's worth picking up? I don't know. Don't really have any room. Yeah, I don't think that there's too much evidence that's going to be suppressed here. I'm looking because all the evidence that we saw at the prelim, I don't think there's good suppression reasons unless there was like some issue with the search warrant or something. Something that's unclear. I don't think there's any reason to suppress any of the evidence. And then all the other remaining evidence that we have yet to see, the cell phone tower records, all that stuff, that's not going to be suppressible because that's subpoenaed from third parties. So, subsequent to the surrender. So I don't think that there's going to be too much suppression here. One of the things that I brought up before is that, they used the hearsay statements from his parents that Tyler admitted to the murder to them. And it came in kind of like double hearsay. And I'm not saying this was brought up in the prelim, but for the probable cause affidavit. Mike Mitchell, the family friend, said that Tyler admitted to his dad. And I think to his mom too, but definitely to his dad. And so if the defense wanted to, really, oh my God, if they could show that didn't happen, that's just not true, that was fabricated, and they could do that by just putting the parents on the stand. As Andrew Wilson did get right, and this was a good point, I wish he hammered home more, the defense could have put the parents on the stand, and it probably would be easier for the defense to put the parents on the stand. But if they could say that whole thing was fabricated, and therefore the whole arrest was illegitimate, then you would get a lot of evidence suppressed. And that would be a big problem for the prosecution. I mean, just on a technicality, that's the type of technicality issue that you can get a whole case dismissed for. So, yeah, I don't buy this story that the parents are denying it now. We haven't heard anything compelling that the parents are denying it now. And Andrew Wilson, I'll give him credit also, because this is a good point. I just wish that it was able to be fleshed out, but it was a good point that he brought up, that why are the parents not coming out speaking? And, I think that if he was a little bit more legally trained, he would have had some better comebacks to her comebacks. But her comebacks were stupid. Oh, there's a gag order. So, no. Why are they not fighting the gag order then? You can't put a gag order on witnesses that want to say that their son is being framed and they're being used in the public to frame to get their son. No. That's definitely First Amendment, okay? Well, I know laws can be very at times, but they are supposed to be based on common sense. And so if Tyler Robinson's parents felt that their son was being framed and being railroaded by the system, no, they would be allowed to talk to the media and say that. And any judge that would hold them in contempt for doing that is a bad judge and would be overturned on numerous grounds. Okay, so that's just BS. Andrew Wilson did bring it up, to his credit. I don't know if it's really his fault, but maybe it's PBD's fault. It didn't get enough consideration, and it was a good point. No, look, again, Andrew brought up a lot of good points, and in a normal debate against a normal person, he won. He won. But he should have realized that he's not debating a normal person with the normal following, and he has to step it up. So, did you guys lose me? Mackenzie? I'm here. I'm here. You guys. Okay. No. Okay. Walking my baby to the park. Can I go over why evidence would be given back? Why evidence, you mean, to like Erica Kirk? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, once you download, or I wouldn't say download, once you extract using Cellbrite or something like that from a cell phone, you're given like basically a mirror image copy of everything. And so there's really no need. I mean, I'm not a tech expert, but there's really nothing else to be gained from that cell phone. So give it back to the family. Cell phone has a lot of private information, has a lot of whatchamacallit, pictures and videos and just personal information that I'm sure a family would want if it belongs to somebody who was killed. So once you do the extraction, there really is no evidentiary value to keeping. You basically have two copies. They make a big deal out of his necklace. Yeah, well, it's hard to keep track of what they make a big deal out of, Mackenzie. It seems like as soon as something gets shown to be not a big deal and shown to be stupid, and it starts losing traction, then they move on to something else. I don't know. I haven't followed the necklace. I don't know what that is. I think that the exploding mic theory, I think that Candace, didn't provide any support for that whatsoever. I mean, she didn't provide any support for anything. But the exploding mic, she kind of said that she'll accept a lower caliber bullet. And, why was everything hearsay evidence? Not everything was hearsay evidence. And this one is something Andrew didn't get right because he's not a lawyer. And that's okay. It shouldn't have really mattered. But, okay, so hearsay, the definition of hearsay is an out-of-court statement that is brought in as evidence to prove the truth of what is being stated. So, for example, an out-of-court statement, let's say there's, I'm trying to think of a clear example. Let's say I told the cop that my neighbor killed somebody, right? If that comes back into court, if my neighbor is then charged with murder and he's in court, and then the prosecution wants to bring in my statement to say, oh, you see, his neighbor said he killed somebody. Well, in trial, at normal trial, the accused has a right to confront and cross-examine witnesses. So it wouldn't be fair to the defendant to just let that statement come in by me, right? Without them being able to ask questions of me. Well, why did you think that he killed somebody? How do you know? Do you have a bias against the neighbor? Are you did you see the murder? Whatever, right? Whereas if it was just the statement, that wouldn't be fair. Now, there's exceptions to hearsay where it is allowed. So normally it's not allowed at trial. However, there's exceptions to the types of hearsay, which I'm going to get into. But for purposes of the preliminary hearing, this is not a trial. Yes, it would be unfair if it was hearsay is allowed at trial. And we want Tyler Robinson to have a fair trial. Okay? As much as we think he did it, and we obviously love Charlie Kirk and we want him to be punished, or Tyler to be punished, we want Tyler Robinson to have a fair trial for the goodness of our system and to put to rest all the conspiracies. So anyways, so Lance Twig's statements, for example, that's all hearsay. All the interviews, that was hearsay. That would not be allowed at trial. At trial, they have to get Lance Twiggs on the stand so the defense can cross-examine him. But at the preliminary hearing stage, because all the judge is deciding is whether or not there's enough evidence to go to trial, they do let in hearsay. They let in what's called a reliable hearsay. And there's different reasons for it, but I think the most obvious is the best example is if we're talking about the medical examiner's report, that would be hearsay because it's an out-of-court statement and they're bringing it in to show the truth of what it says. So at trial, the defense is going to be allowed to cross-examine the medical examiner about their report. But for the purposes of the preliminary hearing, just because it would be such a drain on resources if they can't allow hearsay for every single time, and because it's not an actual trial, they let in what's called a reliable hearsay. Now, this is kind of the whole idea. The preliminary hearing is really such a low standard that what I've said from the start is that oftentimes all it's meant to do, because there's already probable cause for the arrest, oftentimes all it's meant to do is to make sure that the defendant that's sitting there in custody is in fact the defendant that's named on the arrest warrant. Because sometimes there's mistaken identity, and it wouldn't be fair to go to trial just because you happen to be arrested and they think that you're someone else, right? So that's basically the main purpose of a preliminary hearing, is just to make sure. But they went so far and above that here to show that there's reason to go forward with trial. So there's no doubt. There's no doubt that it's going to trial. Nikki, one second, I see your question. I just want to finish this one point. So what Candace and Andrew got wrong is that there's a hearsay exception when the statement is made by defendant. So you couldn't bring in hearsay at trial by a neighbor saying, "Oh, my neighbor killed somebody," right? You couldn't bring that in without calling them to the stand for cross-examination. But when it is a statement that's made by the defendant, it's no longer hearsay. Why? Because if it were, then you wouldn't ever be allowed to bring in any sort of confessions, because we know that person can't be compelled to testify against themselves. They're allowed to testify on their own behalf if they wish to, but they can't be compelled to. And so all the text messages by Tyler are not hearsay. And that Candace Owens got wrong. That's why they brought up Rule 801. Andrew Wilson's team did. But I don't think Andrew Wilson saw the applicability of it. All the text messages are not hearsay. Is a yes. So Patriot, yes, a preliminary hearing is pretty much the same thing that happens with a grand jury. It's just a different format. But yeah, it's to establish probable cause to go forward. There's different phases, and different states do things differently. So a grand jury indictment, I think in California, because you have the probable cause for the arrest. So a grand jury indictment might lead to an arrest, but you still have to have a preliminary hearing in California to bind the case over for trial. And it's basically, if anything, it's just giving the defense an opportunity to point out if there's some significant issues with the case. So it's almost impossible to win at a preliminary hearing stage. I always put up as much of a defense as I can because it's, creates a good record and everything. But I always tell my clients, do not hold out any hope of winning at this stage. But one time I won that at the prelim stage was, there was a robbery, and my client was with two other people that perpetrated the robbery. And she had nothing to do with the robbery. She was just with them when they went into a store and did it. And so the charges against her, I'm trying to remember the facts because this was a while ago, but the charges against her didn't really even allege that she participated in the robbery. And so what it said was that she knew after the fact that there was a robbery, but they were arrested right away. So there was no reason to charge her. And so I got her dismissed at the prelim stage because I said, look, everything that they're saying, even if it's 100% true, that's not a crime. She's allowed to be friends with somebody who committed a robbery. That, if she didn't participate in it, she didn't help with it, she didn't hide it, she didn't do anything, then that's not a crime, and therefore she should not be in this case. So that's an example of when you could win at the prelim stage. It's just like when on its face, it's it shouldn't go forward. But if they provided any evidence of any involvement, then it would have been held over, and I would have to make that case at trial. So, did that answer anyone's question? Hi, Angie. Yeah, not every state uses preliminary hearings. California does. Utah obviously does. By the way, do you know that, hey, iRoll, thanks for stopping by. In Utah, the jury's only going to be 8 members, and then I guess 2 or 3 alternates. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that. I thought most states do 12, but apparently Florida does 6, actually. Any other questions? My main point was to give myself some pats on the back here. I said the debate was going to do nothing, and I think I'm right. Didn't do anything except make Candace Owens and PBD and Andrew Wilson a lot richer, which I don't care about them getting richer. I just hate the idea of Candace Owens making any more money. Yeah, 6 is small. Yeah, that as a defense lawyer, I don't like 6 jurors, or 8. But I guess it's up to the states. But I also wanted to. She made millions. Yeah, and she's gonna keep making millions. And Andrew didn't hold their feet to the fire enough. Again, he won objectively. He gave himself a 7.5 out of 10. And so I respect him for, acknowledging that he could have done better. I definitely think he could have. But he could have done worse. And maybe, maybe I would have done worse because I would just start calling her the C word and like really just calling her a demon piece of shit. So it's easy to criticize from the outside. But he gave her a 3.5, and I guess that's what I'd give her too, because she didn't have any logic or evidence, but she didn't, admit to being an idiot. So she has confidence. She knows how to bring retards along. And make no mistake, her followers are retarded. I'm done giving them any grace. I'm done with it. They're stupid. They're stupid at best. At best, they're stupid. Like, if I just think, if you're a follower of Candace Owens and I just think you're stupid, then you should be appreciative of that. Because that means I think that you're not deliberately evil and stupid. So, what kind of civil lawsuit could be filed against the family? What do you mean, the family? Family of Tyler? Yeah, Mindy. Yeah, that's what I've been told. She doesn't want to be responsible. Erica doesn't want to be responsible for Tyler's death. She would not fight against a plea deal. I think it's going to happen, but it's probably not going to happen for a while because the defense is going to exhaust all of their avenues. If they could win on getting the arrest warrant or something thrown out, then they might win on a total technicality here. So they're probably going to exhaust all their possibilities before the plea deal is going to be agreed. As much as that sucks for us in the public. Candace is the worst, one of the worst people I've ever seen. It's hard to say that because, there's murderers and rapists, and obviously those people are worse because of what they do. But she's not far behind. The amount of harm and injury she's done just to everybody, to the world, really evil. She's a really evil person. And she's turned a lot of people evil with her. Thanks for tuning into my live, everyone. You made it so that my baby had a good long morning walk. I'm gonna be back at my house in 5-10 minutes. Can Erica Kirk sue Raw? Yeah? Yes. Yes, Erica Kirk can sue Tyler Robinson. And if you're asking about the family, I don't know if they really have a claim there. But she can sue Tyler Robinson, but I don't really know what there is to gain from that. I mean, in terms of financial compensation, seems like the best that she could hope for is the 2013 Dodge Challenger. So I don't really see the point of it, but yeah, she can. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, it's my number one job. Oof. It's my exercise also. And it was pretty nice here this morning, but it's starting to heat up, so ending it just in time. Just for optics to sue? Well, I don't really know. I mean, after we get a conviction in the criminal case, I don't really know what optics would be served by suing Tyler, you know. And I think he would probably just admit to it after the criminal case. It'd just be like, okay, yeah, okay, fine, you get $100 million. Good luck collecting it, you know. Yeah, I'm in SoCal, and it's actually not that bad of a day yet. Any other questions? And sorry if I'm missing some of your questions. As you can tell, I'm walking and looking at my phone and everything. So sorry if I'm missing questions. Not trying to ignore anybody. Any other? Well, thank you for joining me. Always a pleasure. I love doing these lives, especially when I see that no one else, you know, no LLC, no RD, no Paramount, no Continue Freedom, none of our friends are live. I want to chat with you all, so I'm like, I'm going to jump on a live. So thank you all. Love you. Have a great week.